Welcome to Insightful Gaming. If you're sick of the same old Solar Warlock builds and you're itching for something new, you've come to the right place. Today, we're rolling out a build that's going to change the game for you and your squad. The star player in this build is the 𝗕𝗘𝗖𝗢𝗠𝗘 helmet, basically, the dream item for any Solar Warlock. It's got this sick perk called Rites of Ember that takes your Daybreak to the next level, setting enemies on fire when you hit them. Plus, it juices up your Scorch attack and gives you some melee energy back when you do damage. To break it down, this helmet can literally double your Scorch damage. And we're just getting warmed up. We've also got some insane weapons and other mods lined up that'll crank your damage through the roof. This build isn't just about wrecking stuff. It'll also be a healing powerhouse, making you invaluable in high-level content. If you're as pumped as we are about this build, go ahead and hit that like button, drop a comment, and make sure to subscribe for more killer builds and top-notch gaming content. Now let's dive into this game-changing build. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty and talk about how to really rack up the damage. Here's your game plan. Start off by tossing a fusion grenade or dropping a healing rift, depending on what's going down. Follow that up with a quick melee attack. This 1-2 punch does more than just deal damage. It also slaps a Scorch effect on your targets. Oh, and your main exotic weapon can add Scorch stacks too. Get an enemy up to 100 Scorch stacks and boom, they ignite, setting off a huge solar explosion that'll mess up anyone nearby. Say hello to solar ignition. While all this chaos is happening, go to town with your solar exotic primary weapon to keep the kills coming. The whole point is to keep cycling your abilities. Throw grenades, melee, use your rift, then pop your super when it's ready. Wash, rinse, repeat. Thanks to the exotic and fragments in this build, using Scorch abilities also fills up your class and melee energy bars. Add in our specially picked armor mods, and you've got a smooth loop of destruction going. So to sum it up, your main loop revolves around using your fusion grenade and melee to stack Scorch, then blowing stuff up with ignition. In between, you're keeping the heat on with your exotic primary. This keeps the cycle moving so you're always ready to drop your super and keep the devastation going. Alright, let's switch gears and dive into the stats and weapons that make this build an absolute unit. First off, stats. You want to focus on resilience to make sure you can tank through the tough stuff and keep going. Discipline comes next. It's what lets you throw grenades more often and make them hit harder. Now, let's talk firepower. For your primary, you've got some awesome choices. Polaris Lance has this cool perk called the Perfect Fifth. Get 4 headshots and your next round is an explosive solar bomb. No reload needed. Sunshot's another solid pick, especially if you like stuff that goes boom. Its perk, Sunburn, makes your shots explosive and tags enemies so you can track them. And when you drop an enemy, they explode, damaging others nearby. Skyburner's Oath is another solid option. If you don't have these exotics, look for a legendary gun with the incandescent perk, like the 𝗕𝗘𝗖𝗢𝗠𝗘 It's solar-based and has the Demolitionist perk, giving you more grenades more often. For the heavy weapon, we're rolling with Apex Predator. This bad boy has 2 killer perks. Reconstruction, which auto-reloads the weapon over time and can even double the mag size. Then there's Bait and Switch, giving you a damage boost if you've recently dished out damage with your other weapons. This is basically one of the best heavy weapons you can get your hands on. With weapons out of the way, let's get into the abilities, aspects, and fragments that make this build pop off. Firstly, the big showstopper is your super. You've got 2 choices. Daybreak lets you rain down fiery doom from above, while Well of Radiance is your go-to for keeping you and your squad alive and buffed. In my gameplay, I usually leaned on Well of Radiance, but if you want to amp up your damage, Daybreak's where it's at. Now for melee, we're talking Celestial Fire. Think of it as a 3-pack of fireballs that turn your enemies into toast on impact and applying Scorch. For grenades, we are using fusion grenades. These stick to your enemies and blow up and applying Scorch. And here's the kicker. With the Touch of Flame aspect, these bad boys explode twice and applying Scorch twice. Alright, let's pivot to aspects and fragments, the secret sauce that makes everything work together. We're mainly working with 2 key exotics here, 𝗕𝗘𝗖𝗢𝗠𝗘 for that extra spicy Scorch and your chosen exotic primary weapon. They pair up real nice, taking your Scorch and Ignition game to the next level. For aspects, first up is Touch of Flame. This aspect makes your fusion grenades do a double take, hitting with 2 explosions and doubling the Scorch effect. Then there's Heat Rises. Use this, and you can eat a grenade to heal your team and yourself. Plus, if you get airborne kills, you get melee energy back. You can jump around and pop off shots to keep that melee energy coming. Now, time for fragments, the cherries on top. Starting off, we've got Ember of Ashes. This gem pairs super well with your exotic primary and 𝗕𝗘𝗖𝗢𝗠𝗘, piling up even more Scorch stacks. Next, Ember of Searing makes sure you get melee energy when you finish off scorched enemies. Ember of Singeing speeds up your class ability when you burn folks. And last but not least, you have a wildcard slot. Right now, we're using Ember of Eruption, which makes your solar explosions even bigger. So that's the game plan. Everything's designed to milk the most out of the Dawn Chorus and your exotic primary, boosting all the burn and boon you can handle. Alright, so you've got your weapons and your supers. Now let's talk about the fashion that's not just for show, the armor mods that make this build a powerhouse. Starting at the top with the helmet, we're rocking Harmonic Siphon. What it does is turn your quick solar weapon kills into sweet, sweet orbs of power. Then there's Ashes to Assets. This bad boy rewards you with extra super energy when you score a grenade kill. And let's not forget Heavy Ammo Finder. It's like a loot box for heavy ammo drops. Moving down to the arms, it's all about those gauntlets. First up, Momentum Transfer. This one's awesome. Hit an enemy with your grenade and you'll shave time off your melee cooldown. Then we got One Bolstering Detonation. This one gives you class ability energy whenever your grenade does damage. To keep those grenades coming, we also got Grenade Kickstart. This one bumps up your grenade energy when you're running low. For the chest piece, go with whatever you need for the activity. I am sporting Concussive Dampener, Void Resistance, and Arc Resistance. Next, let's talk boots. First, we got Innervation, a nifty mod that lowers your grenade cooldown every time you pick up an Orb of Power. Then we got Invigoration, which does the same for your melee cooldown. And the cherry on top, Elemental Charge. This one works great with our build because it turns those fire sprites you're creating into potential armor charges, giving you more ability energy to play with. Last but not least, the Warlock Bond. First up is the Bomber mod. This one cuts down your grenade's cooldown every time you pop your class ability. Then we have Powerful Attraction, a magnet for nearby power orbs when you use your class ability. And finally, the Reaper mod, which spawns a power orb when you activate your class ability, boosting the impact of your next final blow. Feel free to swap these out if you've got other favorites. So there you have it. Deck yourself out with these mods and you'll be a one-person apocalypse in no time. Alright, let's go over the seasonal mods that'll make your build even more OP. In the first row, just snag whatever anti-champion mods you need for the week's meta. In the second row, a good one to pick is the Diviner's Discount. In the third row, we will pick the Elemental Orbs Solar. If you're using a Solar subclass, your weapon's final blows can spawn Solar Orbs. Toss these orbs at baddies and they'll explode. In the fourth row, some really strong options are Elemental Fury, refreshing pickups. Every time you grab a Solar Orb, it'll grant energy to your weakest ability. So, more orbs, more power. Last row, you could only pick 2 mods, but here are some strong options. First is Monochromatic Maestro. Your elemental abilities will boost your weapon damage and vice versa. You get a 10% damage buff for 5 seconds. Second is Rapid Fire Ranger. Land those quick, precise shots on faraway enemies and you'll make them weaker for a bit. Third, we have Elemental Munitions. Final blows with your elemental orbs might drop some special or heavy ammo. Finally, we have the Frenzied Stacks. Every time you pick up any orb of power, you get a temporary armor boost. In a nutshell, this Solar Warlock build is an unstoppable juggernaut tailored for any Destiny activity you can imagine. Every ability, aspect, fragment, and armor mod we've chosen harmonizes beautifully to forge a lethal concoction that obliterates foes in a blaze of glory. If this build has stoked your excitement and proven helpful, be sure to smash that like button, drop a comment below, and subscribe to our channel for even more thrilling builds and electrifying gaming content. Thanks for tuning in, and here's to a fantastic week ahead.